Hey everybody, it's Dr. Kevin McGovern, and today is the third episode of the new episode of the Velocity RX podcast. And today's episode is my story. How I got involved or how I created this program was really out of tragic desperation. So when I got out of college, I was a avid baseball player. I joined a pretty highly competitive men's league in the Boston area, and we started practicing. Really, we start practicing in the winter, just like a regular major league kind of team. We play about 45 or 50 games during the year. So we start hitting and stuff and throwing indoors in January and February. And as soon as we can get outside, we do, so we can, play catch. So playing first base in a, probably 55-degree late March or early April day, I fielded the ball and made that throw to third base that really I've never seen actually happen. And I felt this like crunch in my right elbow and pain immediately. And I knew something was bad. And continued to practice. Didn't really throw again. Went home and looked at my elbow, and there was a kind of a golf ball sized lump in here, and I knew things were bad. So, I'm a physical therapist out 3 years. I'm working for somebody. I've got student loans up here. I've got bills. I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I could take off 2 or 3 or who knows how long months to get my elbow fixed, because as a physical therapist, especially, manual, I need both hands. Kind of really hard to adjust somebody or move limbs around with, one good arm. So after feeling sorry for myself for the rest of the weekend, I went to a doctor friend of mine and he looked at it and we got an MRI, and, lo and behold, guess what? Well, yes, I, tore my flexor tendon or Tommy John ligament. Um, so it was pretty torn. Obviously, no one went in to look at it. I'll get to that later. But, the recommendation was surgery if I wanted to continue to play baseball again. Certainly, I can let it rest and heal on its own if I want to continue to play golf or shoot baskets, or, really first and foremost was, how much is this going to affect my career as a physical therapist? So I got, clearance that it's not, or notification that it's not going to affect that. But I had some decisions to make. So I started conservatively the first few months of, rehabbing it on my own, hooking myself up to electric stimulation, and we used ultrasound back in those days. And then I have colleagues like, massage it and help working its range of motion. And after a few months, it felt good. It didn't hurt. I was able to, play basketball, and I was actually able that season to, swing a bat and without, pain in the elbow. I could play a little catch here or there, but not very far. I didn't even want to mess with it. So I gave it a good 6 months of rest, and then I decided, all right, you know, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It's feeling good, it's strong. I really worked on my core and my shoulder blades and getting all of the arm care stuff that I could find and do and work, and really devise my own kind of program on what to do to keep my, shoulders, my motion, my stability of my shoulder blades and shoulders working very well. I mean, obviously, my mechanics were probably not well. It's how I got hurt to begin with. So I decided that I would try to find a way to throw without hurting my elbow. So, you know, I had played tennis. The first thing is, when I shot a basket, right? I shot it didn't, that extension, didn't hurt. I'm like, all right, well, if that doesn't hurt, how can I really take the stress off my arm and be able to throw? So I started to look at other sports. We've got tennis, where you're serving hundreds of times a week, and no one is hurting themselves, hurting their elbow, or holding this racket. And then I looked at like cricket. Now, obviously, cricket's a little different. They're not bending and you're keeping that arm straight, but what they both had in common, and we've probably heard this a million times, is they really threw downhill, right? Downhill. Now, what's downhill? That means gravity assisted, not from back here, but as I'm coming, downhill. All these pitchers during that time, studying that, the arm path was long, that looked to me like they were accelerating their arm from certainly behind their head, right? And then, I would hear this, oh, he throws across his body. And somehow that was like, people say, well, that was bad. I'm thinking, well, I mean, that's normal follow through is to go across your body. How is that bad? Started asking these questions and really couldn't find, quarterbacks, tennis, everyone finishes with the arm going across your body. I'm thinking to myself, how else do you finish? Like, you don't finish with your arm going the other way. It naturally goes across your body. So I really began working with trying to figure out a way to throw without pain. Then I started to take up Kempo karate around the same time, and and how we moved in karate. One of the moves in karate is this, kind of overhand hammer fist, right? That I'm turning, and you see these guys smash all these bricks. They're not getting Tommy John surgery. So I really honed in on the fact that we've got to get the arm to accelerate last or downhill, which follows the kinetic sequence of movement. Movement starts at the core and out, but you'll hear a lot of people talk today about arm strength and arm about hand, and it doesn't start, the power doesn't start there. The power starts from the core. So I began fiddling around, and eventually, after, probably that late that summer, early fall, I started throwing, off a mound, off a flat surface, and really working on throwing downhill. And, I did a couple of drills where I would literally throw the ball and not release it until it bounced, right? I would bounce it to home plate to get that feeling of bringing my arm all the way around and throwing as it's, past this kind of danger zone back here. And lo and behold, my arm didn't hurt. Internally, I'm sure that area scarred over, and, I had full range of motion, and, I had good tricep strength, I had good bicep strength, I had a lot of good postural strength and scapular coordination, especially scapular depression. I wasn't shrugging. So I started to throw and throw, and lo and behold, the following year I got back on the mound and I threw the entire season. Now, afterwards, did my elbow hurt? At times, not all the time. There was actually one game where I went to extra innings. I think I threw like 140 pitches, something crazy, right? Now, I'm not throwing 120 miles an hour. So if you're looking for that, I'm not that guy, right? But did I hit 85? Yeah, probably, 82, 77 and a half. But the key is I taught myself how to throw, without pain in my mechanics. And that led into this Velocity RX of, first and foremost, making sure that the body is moving functionally correct. So everything was moving. I had my shoulder, everything was moving kinesiologically correct. And it was really just applying that now to throwing a baseball. So my movements were good, my balance was good, my, sequence of movement was good. And then I just really worked on strategies to keep my arm throwing last. One of the first ones is obviously I turned over the ball, right? You just saw my shoulder go from here to there, right? Because as you pull out of the glove, everyone's like this. But if my arm is up, if my arm is in supination, that doesn't activate my upper trap. People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm like, well, why is it crazy? Why is it crazy? I can't throw the ball from here. Eventually, I have to turn my hand over to throw. So I really worked on timing. That was a big drill. I worked on a couple of the drills I used, my 3-tap drill of, staying back and getting my leg out so my foot hits the ground and then turning and spinning, which is really opposite of what's being taught now. People are teaching you to push off and drive your whole body forward. To me, that just makes your arm last and you just can't get around, at least for me. So I developed this whole program, and now, who's going to benefit from it? Well, the people that benefit from the most are that middle and high school aged athlete that's really just coming off a growth spurt, or going from, 45 feet to 60 feet, going from 5'1" in, September to the following April being 5'7", and, limbs and arms are all over the place. That is a group of people that really require functional exercise to correct their basic movements first. So with the VelociX program, I bring everyone through my game test, which is this evaluative test that I've developed that really focuses on the sequence of movement. And there's only one right answer because we only have one sequence of movement. From there we go into corrective exercise, and then I go into looking at people's mechanics, and I have about 9 benchmarks where I want the arm and the body to be to stay healthy, right? Everything is about staying healthy. And it's surprising when we get better balance, we move better, we're stronger. Oh my God, guess what happens? We throw harder, we throw with more accuracy. Everyone's on this velocity kick, and I get that. We want to be able to throw as hard as we can, just like if we're playing basketball, we want to be able to jump as high as we can. Okay. But the pitching is really unique, right? Because if we had a hitting instructor and he was bad, what would happen is you would go 0 for 20 in the weekend tournament. If you have a bad pitching instructor, what could happen is you could end up on an operating table, and there goes your college scholarship. I always say, you can't get a college scholarship at 13, but you can certainly lose one with an injury. Right now, the high school athlete is really at the bottom of the recruiting class, by most coaches, because of the transfer portal and junior college, right? Coaches are already going to go with people who already have college experience because, they want to win, especially at the Division I level. Now, everyone's not going to go Division I, but, if you want to play in college and you are a middle and high school pitcher, the first thing you should be concentrating on is getting your functional movement at its best and keeping healthy so that you're pitching for all 4 years of high school. You've got a 4-year record, well, that includes JV, and you're uninjured. That's the key. Okay. Colleges have, insurance. They're all self-insured, right? You go to college, your arm is injured, the rates are going up, right? And you could be sent home, and there goes your scholarship money, right? And they want to look at a book of, business per se that's healthy, and you want to be healthy. So that's essentially the story of Velocity RX. If you're listening to this program, please subscribe. And if you want my help, please visit velocityrx.org. From there, you can get to me. I've got some free drills on there. I've got some free checklists to further check me out. We can jump on a coaching call. I could, look at video of your son and determine if I can help him. And then we can go from there. Not a fit for everybody. I'm not saying that. But if you want to stay uninjured, you want to bulletproof that arm, you want to throw with better accuracy, and you want to throw with better velocity safely, look me up. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.